Charles Anderson, directing pastor here at University United Methodist Church, and welcome to this study entitled Real Friendship. This is the first session in a study that we're calling Keeping It Real, Authentic Relationships. You know, people hunger for true friendships. However, with schedules getting busier and busier, a lot of people have trouble making time to develop those friendships. In fact, that's why some people believe that television shows picturing close friendships have become so popular. Think, for instance, of Seinfeld, or Friends, or today's Big Bang Theory. All these feature friends who just drop by. Well, many of us in real life have no friends who just drop by. So how do we develop authentic relationships, especially the ones we long for? All the sessions in this study will have something to say about that. And in this session, we will focus on how Jesus demonstrated friendship and what he said to us about showing friendship. Our scripture passage today is the Gospel of John, chapter 15, verses 9 through 17.
As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. I have said these things to you, so that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be complete. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. I do not call you servants any longer, because the servant does not know what the master is doing. But I have called you friends, because I have made known to you everything that I have heard from my Father. You did not choose me, but I chose you, and I appointed you to go and bear fruit that will last, so that the Father will give you whatever you ask him in my name. I am giving you these commands, so that you may love one another.
The first thing we should acknowledge is that Jesus' friendship with us is not a typical friendship. A typical friendship is a relationship between equals. Neither person is above the other. But Jesus Christ is God's Son, and we're called to submit to his authority. This may be why this passage emphasizes that we must obey what Jesus commands. Still, there are some qualities of how Jesus related to those he was teaching and discipling and training. And these qualities help us see more clearly what a real friend should be. So let's look at 4 qualities in particular. First, a Jesus-like friend reveals one's thoughts and feelings. In verse 15, Jesus says, I do not call you servants any longer, because the servant does not know what the master is doing. But I have called you friends, because I have made known to you everything that I have heard from my Father. You see, Jesus didn't hide anything from his followers. When he was angry with them, he let them know. Also, he did not hesitate to convey his love, his joy, or his sadness. And as verse 15 makes clear, Jesus did not hide information from his friends. Jesus emphasizes that he has told them all he's learned from the Father, and Jesus is specifically referring here to his upcoming death. Some might have avoided sharing such unpleasant information, but Jesus wanted his disciples to prepare themselves. A friend like Jesus reveals one's thoughts and feelings. Second, a Jesus-like friend respects your wishes. In verse 14, Jesus says, you are my friends if you do what I command you. As the Son of God, Jesus has the right to give commands for us to follow. Respecting his desires for us helps us enrich our lives. Well, the equivalent of that quality is how we respect the wishes of our friends. They can't command us as Christ can, but just as respect for Jesus' commands means respect for who he is as Lord, so our respect for the wishes of our friends means respect of who they are as people. Respect for their wishes doesn't always mean we want to do what they want. It doesn't mean that, but we don't want to diminish their wishes prematurely. And if our wishes conflict, we seek creativity or compromise, so both of us can have part of what we want. Third, a Jesus-like friend sacrifices for other people. Friends sacrifice for each other. Verse 13, no one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. Of course, this is exactly what God did for us. Even though Jesus is greater than we are, He was the one willing to sacrifice first. He laid down His life by going to the cross so that we could have forgiveness and new life. This is an example of friendship. Now, our sacrifices generally will not require that we physically die for our friends, but it should at least mean that we will give up living our lives just for ourselves. We should learn to sacrifice some of what we would like to do in order to show love toward a friend. Fourth, Jesus-like friends encourage each other to develop and use their talents. Jesus in verse 16, "You did not choose me, but I chose you to go and bear fruit that will last." Jesus wanted His followers to use their talents to make a difference that would have eternal significance. And He didn't want them to have the frustration of putting their time and talents into activities that just passed the time or didn't make a lasting contribution. Now, this is very different from people who would rather that you appreciate and praise their talents, their abilities, and whatever ability you show is a threat to their ego. Well, this is not the kind of friendship Jesus modeled. Jesus-like friends, you see, encourage each other to develop and use their talents. There's an old saying that to have a friend, you have to be a friend. So as we seek to apply this week's lesson, we might want to look at some specific things you and I can do to be real friends to others. So here are some suggestions that are in line with what we've been talking about today. First, set aside at least 3 hours this coming week for friendship building. Now, this time could be used for calling people to see how they're doing, or having a cup of coffee with someone, or whatever else fits your mutual interest. But give the gift of time. And then second, share something new about yourself with a friend. Think through what it is that you want to share ahead of time, but make it something significant. The person you choose to share this with should be someone that you are willing to trust and who you want to know better. Third, identify at least 2 talents a friend has and encourage him or her in at least one of them. Encourage that person in how you've seen her use that talent, how he's used that talent. Author John Ortberg, in his book, Now What, writes, "People who give themselves to relational greatness, people who have deep friends with whom they laugh and with whom they cry, these are the human beings who lead magnificent lives. Whether or not they are ever noted in society, and when they die, not one of them regrets having devoted themselves to people, to their friends, to their children, to their family. No one." Well, Jesus is a no regrets kind of friend. And He longs for us to experience that same level of authenticity. Jesus blesses friendships that share His respect, His sacrifice, and His encouragement of others. So I leave you with this question. Who are you a no regrets kind of friend to? And who is a no regrets kind of friend to you?